This is the World Organic News Podcast for the week ending the 29th of February 2016. John Moore reporting. This week has been a week of reflection. The blog Less But Better discussed the reduction process in one post entitled Lessening. It's about one person's journey to the realisation they need less stuff, ultimately triggered by the film Tiny. It got me thinking about how much stuff I have lying around and how much of it I actually need. 4 laptops may just be 3 too many, but I haven't quite reached that point yet. A link to the blog is in the show notes. At the same time I stumbled across this post, I was listening to a 2-part series from Ideas on the CBC in Canada, discussing money, the 2008 financial meltdown, and an idea called mincome. At its most basic, mincome is a social security payment of a living wage to each individual in a society. As the name suggests, it is the minimum income required to be above the poverty line. The idea had been trialled at the province level in Canada back in the 1970s, and is now running at the village level in one Spanish village run as a commune. The smaller the social unit, the more easily this payment is tied to certain non-financial obligations. In the Spanish example, 1 day a week is devoted to work for the greater good, fixing the roofs of the elderly, road maintenance and that sort of thing. Peer pressure does its work and things get done. What intrigued me about these two ideas, living with less and mincome, is would they work at the national level? The predictions for automation would suggest not just motor vehicles being built and driven by robots, but also the work of many professionals will be automated. Entry-level jobs into the working world have been automated since the 1980s, and are being so with increasing rapidity. Automatic telling machines, self-service checkouts at supermarkets, and now self-designed and ordered hamburgers at fast food chains. We have been through this before. The huge disruption to the cycles of human life during the Industrial Revolution are a warning. Do we want riots by the hungry? Do we want revolutions by the impoverished? Or are we going to use the power of these technological changes to free people from the drudgery of work? We do have a choice. As with all social security transfer payments, there will be individuals who will rort the system. That being said, does it really matter? All members of society are supported. When this was trialled in Canada back in the 70s, it turned out that the high school graduation rate increased because the need to earn income from the age of 15 or 16 could be postponed until the age of 18. I can hear the outcries as I record this. You don't give people money for nothing. Yet, if up to 90% of work is being done by robots, does it matter? Do we really think individuals will spend their entire lives in front of a screen, drunk, drugged or asleep? Seriously, do we have such a low view of humanity? Sure, some will. Some do now. But the majority of people would not. And even those who do nothing now still have to eat, and this underpins many a small community's economic activity. I know of a small town at the base of the ski fields here in Australia that survives economically for 8 months of the year on the unemployment and single parent payments to the majority of its residents. Without this safety net, the town would literally have to close outside the ski season. Yet to focus on the positives, can you imagine the possibilities of freeing the creative abilities of such a huge percentage of the population from the shackles of drudgery? Think about it. There will still be work. There will still be individuals who choose to fill those positions. There are some things a robot cannot do, not yet anyway. In the novel 1984, it was suggested automation had done away with the need for work at all, but the system kept people in employment to ensure weariness of mind as a defence against revolution. Why don't we embrace the IT revolution? Make it work for all of us. Utopian? Possibly. But who cares? We can return to the freedom of the hunter-gatherer who spent little of their time in food acquisition and much in dance, art and storytelling. We have the opportunity to be culturally experimental, to be part of exploring what it means to be human, fully human. It is worth remembering that Bill Mollison, one of the co-founders of permaculture, and Masanobu Fukuoka of the One Straw Revolution, developed their systems while they were sitting still watching nature. So spend some time this week to ponder this possible future. I have been, and it looks wonderful to me. And now for more on our continuing series on John Seymour. This week we begin our journey into the Food from Animals section of the complete book of Self-Sufficiency. The living farmyard, the first topic in this section, pretty much sums up Seymour's approach to food production. Without a source of animal manures, the process is much harder work. The cow is the cornerstone of his method. I prefer goats, which seem too much trouble for Seymour. Fencing is the key to good animal husbandry, but is critical to goat keeping. Mackenzie's book, Goat Husbandry, gives much for the goat keeper. So I use goats as the manure centre for my food production, but the cow would work just as well. Goat or cow, dairy varieties are the key. Milk, cream, butter, cheese, yogurt, meat and manure are the gifts of the dairy cow or a few dairy goats. Seymour's point is the accumulation of manures will feed the rest of the holding. I could not agree more. The use of manures, either applied in sheep mulches when combined with their bedding, or as separately composted, brings so much life to the soil so quickly, it's worth the time and effort all animals, but particularly dairy animals, require. John Jeevons, developer of the biointensive method, uses an animal-free system. About 80% of everything grown by his method is for compost creation. I agree with Seymour and would prefer to feed this to the animals. The manures are then used strategically throughout the holding, either on the fields or the gardens. Manure is a part of all natural grazing systems. From the steppes of Europe to the prairies of the Americas to rangelands of Australia and sub-Saharan Africa, the grasses, herbs and legumes have evolved hand in hand with animals. This is reason enough to mimic those systems in our food production methods. Next week we will delve deeper into Seymour's suggested animals and how they would produce food. Any questions, feedback or criticisms are most welcome. Email me at john@worldorganicnews.com. That's John, Jon, no H. A transcript of each episode is available on the blog at worldorganicnews.com under the tab Podcasts. Sounds used in this podcast are courtesy of Texas Radio Theatre Company on the Freesound site. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back again in a week.